Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more 22 testing. And it's been a little while since we've been out here with some 22. And I've got a couple new rounds to try out. So I figured we'll start off with this one and see what it can do for us. And for the round we're going to start off with, I brought out some of these guys. These are some Federal Champion Solids. They are a 40 grain bullet and they say they're going 1240 feet per second. I do have the chronograph, so we'll see how close we actually get to that number. But there's nothing special about these. They're just your typical brass case, lead, round nose, no kind of copper plating or anything like that on them. So very basic 22 stuff. But for the setup I've got out here today is this guy. This is a Marlin Glenfield Model 25. And up on top here is just a little old school Bushnell sharpshooter 3-9 by 32 scope. Definitely nothing special, but it does the job. So definitely an old school setup from, I think, very early 80s here. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while and seen some of the other testing we've done, we know that gun is not really a 100-yard gun. It's a 50-yard gun. It's definitely not any kind of a long-range 22 or precision rig or anything like that. So that's what we're sticking with today, the usual 50-yard testing. And as for that testing, I do have the chronograph like I mentioned earlier, so we'll be able to see our speed. And as for our target, it's going to be set up at 50 yards. I'll shoot 5 groups, 3 shots each. Then we'll look at what kind of chrono numbers we have. Then we'll go up and measure the groups with my digital calipers and see if these rounds in this rifle seem to work well together. So let's go get you guys a view of the target. We'll shoot our 5 3-shot groups, and then we'll look at our chrono and our accuracy numbers. So let's go over here and shoot these and see what they can do. Alright, so after shooting our groups, let's take a quick look at what we have for chronograph numbers. The box called for 1240, and I think we were pretty relatively close to that. Well, let's go through it here and see what it actually gave us. So for a high, we had 1272. For a low, it gave us 1200. And for an average, it gave us 1239. The box called for 1240, so we're right there exactly what the box is claiming, which is definitely good to see from both a big name brand and 22. So we're right on the money here. So let's go up here now and measure our actual groups with our calipers and see what it gave us. Alright, so now we're looking at our actual groups here, and it doesn't look too terrible yet. It looks about average just by looking at it here. But let's actually start by measuring our first group in the top left and see what it gave us. Alright, so that first group gave us a 0.98 inch group. Definitely not terrible. Would get the job done. But for 50 yards, I was hoping to see a little bit better. It's definitely not bad by any means. But let's go to our second group in the top right and measure that one. Alright, so our second group gave us a 0.82 inch group. So we improved a little bit on that one. That's definitely starting to get a little bit better. But still, in the grand scheme of things, I'd say it's about average for what this rifle can give us. But let's measure our third group in the bottom left and see what we got there. Now, that group is interesting. We only see 2 bullet holes there. But I think that bottom left bullet hole is actually 2 bullets in the same hole. But let's measure it and see what it gave us. Alright, so that group gave us a 0.69 inch group. So we definitely improved a little bit, and if we had 2 in the exact same hole, I think that's the best group of the day. But let's measure that fourth group over in the bottom right and see what that one gave us. Alright, that fourth group in the bottom right gave us a 0.82 inch group. So we're looking pretty consistent about that 0.8, 0.9 inch group size. So even though it's not the most hyper accurate, at least it's very consistent looking. So let's measure that fifth and final group in the center and see what that last group gave us. Alright, our last group of the day gave us a 1.02 inch group, so call it just a 1 inch group. That's the worst group of the day, I believe, but it's still not too terrible, and for what you would use it for at 50 yards, it would be just fine. That probably has something to do with the barrel starting to heat up or something like that, or I mean, it's just 22 anyway, cheap, bulk type 22, but at the very least, it seems consistent. So we're not looking too bad here, but overall, I would say it's about average. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance that we saw today? Like I've said before several times by now, I think, it's about average. Nothing amazing, nothing terrible. Definitely not the worst we've seen, but not the best we've seen either. Which, that's about what I would expect for kind of bulk, cheaper, range type ammunition. Because that's really kind of what it is. But I will say, I was definitely happy with our chronograph numbers. There wasn't too wild of a spread like sometimes you get out of 22, especially cheap stuff. Plus, we got pretty much right on the money for what the box claimed. So we're definitely good there. But what did you guys think about it? And what has been your experience with these federal champions? For me, so far, they're about average. They're good range ammo, and that's pretty much the end of it in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts about it, and if there's another type of 22 ammunition that we should try through this gun. And I'm going to jump back to doing some more testing for y'all, so stay tuned. And with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one.